Here's February's All Wallet Dev Call. We have a pretty light agenda today, as usual, but it's nice to see everybody coming out. I guess let's get started with wallet demos. Does anybody have anything cool they'd like to show off that they've been working on since the last call? All right.
It's very low-level technical stuff that we're doing. So,
Yeah, you want to tell us about it?
well, basically, I was working on like encrypted backups of the wallet, so that you can kind of back it up to a file and then restore it later on. But it's not really like a
It's not
cool
flashy.
feature to demo.
No, it's super useful though.
Yeah,
Which wallet are you with? Sorry.
Luxo, the universal profile.
Perfect. Just for meeting minutes. Cool. So that's awesome. We all need encrypted backups, so can't complain about that.
We're working on something pretty cool at Dark Forest. I don't know if anybody was around for the demo we gave, I think it was last month, about how Dark Forest Interceptor works, but we're working on a way to submit bundles for like white hat recovery of compromised wallets, but exporting that functionality to the user using Dark Forest to kind of create simulation, kind of like stacks of simulations, so that users can kind of create a whole bunch of transactions inside of their wallet and then submit them all directly to Flashbots to help recover assets on their own.
Cool.
And that's using the same like recording tech and stuff you showed last meeting?
Exactly. So use that recording tech, although if you're the technical implementation is fairly interesting because we can't get MetaMask to do it, and MetaMask is the signer. And so we actually have to bring that JSON representation of those transactions to a separate dApp and actually put the private keys inside of this dApp for these compromised accounts in order to create the actual bundles, because you can't really use MetaMask to submit it, right? So you have to kind of break the private keys like storage, but it's only targeted at already compromised wallets. And then the dApp itself is going to be the one that brings a bundle to Flashbots without actually bringing it through MetaMask for signatures.
Oh, is that why Micah was asking about an input for a seed, like a seed on a web page?
I think I'm sure, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, this is all related to that stuff, right? Yeah, and then actually, it's also using a burner wallet. It's creating its own burner wallet inside of the memory of the dApp in order to fund the bundle. So when you do need to send it some assets, it's doing it on like a brand new pristine account, and it can have the private key there in a way that's not compromising other assets that are held by the user.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we have like a demo. We have this like actually working. It's a little bit rough around the edges, but we're going to start getting users that have like usually like NFTs or other assets they want to rescue from compromised accounts and start having them walk themselves through it and watch them do it and see if we can export this to people who really need to rescue these assets, because there's a lot of them. Like that's the other thing that I do in my day job is help people that got scammed. Just kind of bringing those two things together.
Yeah, what we're trying to do, we have an environment of all the wallets being as a contract, and they all have permissions that are on chain, so that you can build things like social recovery and that kind of stuff from.
Right, but that's going to require like the smart contract wallet stuff.
Right.
Are you in any of these 4337 discussions? I'm a part of a whole bunch of those because Flashbots is also kind of trying to be a big part of like pushing 4337 forward, and I think that's going to be a big community effort. But it's going to be really important to get that done.
Yeah, not me personally, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's something that I'm really excited about and hoping that we get a lot of wallet support there. And I think it's going to require just like a big initiative there. But once it's done, it's going to feel like we have a lot more possibilities.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a really active Telegram channel where there's like hundreds of people in there. Only it's dedicated to 4337. If anybody's interested, you can send me your Telegram handle. I could try to add you to this, but there's like a community of people there. They're all trying to push for 4337.
Oh, that's
cool. Where is 4337 at right now? Like high level?
I think just stalled. I don't know. I think there's a lot of excitement. Somebody knows?
Yes, I can talk a bit. So the 4337 standard is undergoing an audit right now. Hopefully, it should be done before September if everything goes well. That's the plan. And there's a lot going on with the B2P network for the bundlers to operate. So the specs are being written for that. A lot of maybe there's like 4 teams that are building bundler software so that it can operate safely in the P2P network. And that's the progress. And then there's other few teams that are building wallets like us, Candid Wallet. So we're building a 437 compatible wallet.
Interesting.
What is your wallet? What's your name?
Candid.
Candid.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for the update. If anybody else has anything they want to talk about, demo stuff they've been working on, we can do that. And if not, we can move on to EAP 6384. Cool. I'll hand it over to Tal.
Hi, thank you, Sam. So
Sorry to put you on the spot with this.
Oh no, that's great. That's great. Luckily, I was near my Discord, and so EIP 6384 is all about human readable offline signatures, or how to make users understand what they're signing on when they're signing. EIP 712, as I guess most of you know, all of you know, that there's has been a lot of rage around OpenSea offline signatures, and they're being exploited in the wild every day. By the way, we're building some cool dashboard based on Dune Analytics to quantify the size of this problem, and we already found under conservative assumptions that there are like $25 million lost in that. I know we're in DeFi, and we don't get excited if it's not hundreds of millions, but this is really, really important. And offline signatures is not EIP 712 based signatures. It's not. It's really a trend that big projects are using that and going to use that more. If you use, for example, Uniswap, Permit2, CowSwap has their own offline signatures, and really it's all as like I think the main attraction for protocols is, since this is if EIP 712 is feeless, so it creates all kind of enables all kind of feeless experience or just-in-time fees for the user. So for OpenSea, the buyer can handle all the fees, and you don't need both sides to be online. And also in Permit, it's kind of solves approve issues and so on and so forth. But the problem is, even though that EIP 712 offers like a nice JSON, so you can see all the trees, so to speak, but the user don't get the forest. It doesn't get like you get big arrays and so on, and all kind of data, because it actually was meant for machines, for smart contract to interpret, and it's not humanly readable. Although, even though you tell like EIP 712 is certainly better than a personal sign that we had before, but still, like, this is an address, this is a number, this is, and so on and so forth. And the user signs that, and it doesn't understand that maybe is approving to some rogue address, or putting their NFTs to sell in a very low price. And what we are suggesting with the EIP or ERC 6384 is to, as EIP 712 already bounds this buffer to be signed to a contract with the verifying contract parameter. So we suggest to have in each contract that supports EIP 712 handling, to have a function. So the idea is, when a wallet gets that EIP 712, it can query that function, hand over the buffer to it. And this is a view-only function, so no fees and no gas and no delays and so on, and get the interpretation of that intent buffer and then show it to the user. This is the idea in high level. And it's also, I'm not going to go into the exact threat model. Like maybe someone is bothered by the fact that the smart contract explains the buffer to the user. So maybe what happens if this smart contract is wrong by itself. So there's a detailed analysis of that issue, and it's really not the issue, because in most cases, let's take OpenSea, like the problem is that the interface, the web interface is wrong, and gets the user to, it's a phishing site, get the user to sign on OpenSea, let's say OpenSea buffer, and the verifying contract, the good OpenSea contract must be the good OpenSea contract, or otherwise it wouldn't work. So so to say, the smart contract is already trusted, and therefore can be used as a source of truth for that. So this is in high level, and we hope to get some consensus around that from both wallets, developers, and of course there's a two-way market also from smart contract developers such as OpenSea, Uniswap, and others. So happy to get your thoughts on that.
So, like, to check my understanding here, the idea is that there's a function on the contract that accepts a 712 signature that can explain what a signature does in human language.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's the motivation for sure.
Yeah, that seems useful.
Yeah. So like there could be all kind of ways, like talking about, and this is like the talk that has been on Ethereum Magician. Some of the participants had good comments about localization. So like, do we need the human understandable description in all languages? Maybe we can define something that is more structured, and then the wallet can do something with it. But it is in the detail, and we really want to, to get the feedback from the community and say what would be the best, and also like what would be feasible, because we can do something very complex and that won't get adopted. So it's kind of a balance between what would be cost effective in that area. So just to share some initial feedback we got from other wallet projects. So Dan Finlay from MetaMask is looking into it. He kind of liked it, but they have their own initiatives in that. So they need to see what would work best. Also, there's a hardware wallet that really supported us, or Twitter, like really said that they are going to actually work with us on that. Gano lost their name, just to say, Keystone are on it. I shared it with, I see there's someone from Coinbase Wallet in this talk, so I shared it with some Coinbase guys, and so it's really initial. We just published it a week or something ago, and we really hope that you, the community, you're at least half of that EIP. Like, there's, of course, needs to be a wallet side support and also smart contract support. So really like to get your feedback, and I shared the EIP or EIC draft link here, and there's all the links are there for the discussion in the Ethereum Magician website.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So if anybody has any feedback, leave it on the discussions to link. If you have any like immediate concerns, feel free to talk about them now, or I think we're pretty much done for today. Cool. So I guess that's the end of, the officially scheduled business. We usually chat for a little while after, so feel free to hang around or feel free to take off. Thanks for coming.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to maybe discuss and ask questions about mobile wallets implementation and how they handle their builds on both iOS and the Play Store. I don't know if anyone want to hang out a bit more.
Well, we happen to have different build infrastructure for both. Like the iOS stuff is a native app, and then we're using a React Native app, Android. But in theory, React Native should run on all platforms.
Yes, sorry, I didn't clarify. So I wanted to ask more about the security measures that mobile wallets take so that they can publish on App Store. So as you know, the developer account is really basically is responsible for publishing the app to the store, and any malicious actor, if they can have access to that developer account, they can modify the way the signer is in, and maybe can copy it and just send it to themselves, and they can just wreck everyone. So this is a quite So DJ, I guess you can speak. I was wondering what teams are doing to do that, and we wanted to take the best security measures to consider it when we're going in production.
I think the modification of an app is not that easy. I mean, if somebody gets access to your developer account, yes, but that's so. I mean, is that really the attack vector that's going to be most likely to happen? I think you would want to make sure that your app doesn't on wire update. So that would be more important than having somebody actually upload a new store item and have it approved. But just make sure not to allow, live updates of those applications. So if they were based on JavaScript, make sure that your packages are pre-built and part of the executable instead of downloaded over the net.
Yes, we don't allow live updates, but technically, in theory, users can. So if users can have automatic updates as well, and the account is compromised, they can get malicious. But I know the general security precautions for the accounts, obviously 2FA, very strong passwords. But is there a formal security measures that mobile wallet team take? Liji, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, I can only speak for the Android side of things, but for the Android side of things, you have a signing key to sign your APK, and I have that on an offline machine. So that's air-gapped. This machine is air-gapped, so the key is not exposed, and so an attacker would need this key to sign an update. This will get more problematic in the future because Google tries to push the app bundles now, and they want the signing key. You should never actually opt into that. And we should also, as a wallet community, resist to that, because as soon as we give the control over this key out of the hand, we have a huge problem. But I think that should be standard practice to sign your builds that fall out of your pipeline after checking on an air-gapped machine.
Got it. Yeah, this is what we are also going to do. The signing for especially for Android, it's going to be always offline. It's going to always be signed, and I think that's the right approach. How about for Apple?
I mean, it's very similar. The Apple package files, they're very similar to the APK package files. They do have multiple signatures, so
Mhm.
I mean, it's not really that much different. But if you have, I mean, it's the same issue, right? Like on Apple, if you have access to that developer account, conceivably you can add a new signing key and then sign with that new key and then have it approved. But I mean, the approval process is not like just a simple thing where you can hack in. I mean, you would notice it. You will get notifications that a new app has been submitted. I'm not sure if that's the most insecure attack vector. That I think if somebody really wanted to hack the thing, they would have to somehow. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Have to think about that. What the
Yeah.
worst case scenario is.
On Android, it's actually not possible because the signature is checked on the device. So you cannot just add a signing key on your developer account and then interfere. So because the device is checking the chain of signatures. And if you have like a new signature on the new APK, different than the old signature on the old APK you have installed, then you cannot just, because the edit vector is actually like create a new update that basically extracts your key. Right. So, and that's then not possible. I don't know how it is on iOS, but on Android, that's not really a concern there.
So
if you keep this key really secure.
So if you had a new developer and they logged into your account, they wouldn't be able to make updates to your existing APK if that was previously signed by another developer key.
Yeah, that's correct. If you're not using app bundles, basically, if you're not hand over the key to Google, then Google is doing after signing. And even there, basically, you have a signing key in between, so you also need this signing key. So then it's basically an upload signing key versus a deploy signing key.
That's interesting. Apple might be cross-checking that too, but I haven't noticed that. I mean, usually that would never happen, right? Like once you develop and you have a signing key, you're not gonna like try to sign it with a different one. So if that was attempted, it might reject it too. That's interesting.
And the question is also a little bit like, where is it checked basically? Is it checked on the device? Because kind of one attack vector could also be speaking like, could Google infiltrate or Apple in this case steal all wallets, right? As an exit scam or something like that. And in the Android case, it wouldn't be the case because they never have your signing key and the device is rejected.
Okay. And is there a way for anyone to verify the bundle against the source code that we publish on GitHub in Android?
That's more problematic, but possible. It's called reproducible builds. So basically what you kind of want to do is create reproducible builds. It's now easier with Android. It was a bit painful in the beginning. It got easier because a problem there usually is you cannot just compare like the hash of like APK-A and APK-B usually because there are some timestamps in there. Usually like an APK is just like glorified zip container with stuff. But now Google pushed that a bit because basically they just wanted to save bandwidth. So they also reduce like all the timestamps and it's about the ordering in the zip and stuff. So it's gotten a bit easier, but it's still some work. But it's very encouraged that you basically try to get your builds reproducible.
Got it. So I have to just look up reproducible builds for
Yeah,
Android.
exactly. Reproducible builds, exactly. Yeah.
And by any chance, do you know, is the same process on Apple? I feel like it's going to be impossible for Android.
Well, they
Yeah,
have signatures, right? On the Apple side, it has signatures. I don't know if they're linked to a certain Git commit or something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but signatures really don't help you there, because what you basically want to do, that the user basically can create the same
Builds.
executable as you, to verify that you want to go, because signatures centralize it again, right? So if it's just a signature, you have to trust them. Basically, you want to be able to not trust them.
Exactly.
You want to like look at the source code, compile it, and get the exact same output.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then it's also like one thing you should also do is like pin your artifacts so that always the same artifacts and dependencies are used. That should be like done anyway, but sometimes
Yes.
that's also a problem to get to reproducible builds. What is also a good method there is to also like hash all the artifacts. On Android, there was by Gradle Witness. Now Gradle has also built-in functions for that. To track down also like supply chain attacks if somebody tries to like get you change like basically dependencies and extradite the keys with that. Yeah.
So if like pinning is not enough, you also have to hash the artifacts.
Yeah, exactly. That in the end you should hash them. Like pinning them is like one step. But in the end, you should also like have hashes of them if they change, because pinning them to a version, then maybe the supply chain of those or the publishers of the artifacts could just replace a version. That's often possible. And you have
The build system doesn't, like when you pin, the build system doesn't take a hash for you, or
now it's also in Gradle inside, but you have to activate it because
Okay.
it could otherwise also, and before you had to manually do it, like it's new functions
Okay.
now in Gradle.
Or you could write code in Rust. That's a popular thing to do these days. I
Yeah.
can't even do it.
It's not too bad. I developed like a whole website in Rust. It's basically like living in React, but writing it in Rust. It's pretty cool.
What framework did you use?
YEW. Get my spelling correct. I'm sorry.
I've looked a little bit at it. That's kind of cool. And it's like React?
Yeah, it feels like you're writing React code, but you have to worry about all the reference stuff in Rust. But it's pretty cool because you end up with web code that's written in WASM, so it's fast, and once you get it right, chances are you probably don't have to change it.
I've used one called... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say thank you for those who responded to my questions.
Yeah, I played around with one called Dioxys. It's like a similar kind of deal. Very React-like from what I understand, although I've never really written React code. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's kind of neat. The caching dependencies are weird. Like I don't know if it's the same in React, but where like things are recomputed inside of like callback functions and then cached, which is kind of a weird paradigm.
Yeah, well, that's kind of in Rust. You don't really have. There's no garbage collection, so you can't return a routine that's persisted as long as somebody is referring to it, right? Because you're not making a call to it yet. So you have to kind of box it. So it's a little tricky to have the idea of callbacks
Yeah.
compatible
Yeah.
with, the browser. How do you spell Dioxus? I'm trying to find
DIOXUS.
XUS. Okay. I found something called XIS. Cool. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, it's still like, in its infancy, but it's neat.
Yeah,
So
most of
what
them.
is like what's like the gold standard right now for like packaging a web app? Because like I've used what's it called? It's been a while. Anyways, I use Wasm-Pack in Rust, and it uses one in the back end, and it seems to screw up half the time. So what is like what does everybody actually use for packaging projects these days?
Packaging where on
Like
the
if you take
desktop
like
or
for the web. So like if I want to like have a bunch of dependencies in like a package.json and I just want to put them in an HTML file and have it work, what is the like gold standard for
oh
that?
yeah, I mean we are still using Webpack for some of those things. Vite, we're trying to switch a lot of things to Vite, which seems to be better. I've used ESBuild, which is a lot better, but it doesn't support older browsers. So
Oh, okay.
there's an SWC is pretty good. Um, Rollup. So they each have like their good and bad parts.
So there's no easy answer is what you're saying.
Not yet. I mean, that's really that whole ESM discussion that I mentioned earlier. I mean, once everything is ESM, then it doesn't really matter because then you can do import in the browser and it just pulls it in. Then you don't have to pre-package everything. But right now, using Webpack is great, but Webpack for packaging and then running it in Node doesn't work anymore for anything that's ESM. So it's
Yep.
it's kind of a bit hackneyed.
Well, because like ideally, I'd like to be able to use sub-resource integrity hashes, and I don't think you can do that with like imports in JavaScript. But
Hmm.
this is just for like a non-wallet related project, so it's not exactly on topic for this, but
Right.
yeah.
But what's your framework that you're using? Just plain JavaScript, like
Just plain
manual?
JavaScript, yeah. Yeah, I normally just use like npm to
I mean,
package or to get the.
if you're targeting really new browsers, I would look either. I mean, are you using like Hugo or something to put things together, or
Well, right now it's really just nothing. I'm kind of starting
oh,
from
okay.
scratch.
I
So
mean, if you want something really fast to like put a bunch of pages together, there's many things. You can either use Hugo, which has ESBuild um, hooked
and
in,
that's HUGO.
HUGO, yeah. But it's like a static website builder, but it does all the packaging and
Oh,
everything.
okay. Okay.
Or you could use like Nuxt that uses Vite, which is really fast.
Okay, I've looked at Next, I think, but it's like meant to be hosted on their service, right? Or am I mixing that with something else?
It does. You can launch Next or Nuxt on Cloudflare with
Okay.
Cloudflare workers, but you have to have the latest version. So the latest version of Nuxt you can run on the edge on Cloudflare workers. But if you don't have any SSR, then you don't even need the backend. Then you can just statically extract the whole site and host it.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Because then you can use something like Surge and just put it anywhere, right?
You've given me a lot to research. Thank you. Great. Well, I'm going to take off. Thanks everybody for coming out. We'll see you next month.
Okay. See you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Have a good evening or night
Thanks.
or afternoon. Okay.
Take
Bye.
care.